What's up, everybody? So, I've kind of put off making this video for a little bit, but this is probably going to be done in one take, unedited and such. So it's just going to be nothing scripted, so you'll have to bear with me um, if I happen to stutter or anything. So, I mentioned previously during my first impressions video of Arctilad R. From what I've seen so far, it seemed to have been pretty interesting. Um, it does have its flaws the more I played into it, and I do see how much more of a gotcha game it can be since the way it works in this one is it's all about what characters that you get from your draws, uh, whether it be 3 to 5 stars, possibly even 6 if you're extremely lucky, and also what characters you get from it that can help you in later levels as you progress through the story, which I have noticed upon playing it further in that it does seem to contain a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? A difficulty curve. Kind of gets it starts out pretty normal and then it suddenly jumps up a little bit on the what level would be required. I know this is one level I try to do. They wanted you to be your party to be like level 29 or something, and I was only at like just at 20, which turned out to be a level where you didn't even have to fight the enemies; you just had to get to the other side of the room. It was like it was one of those stealth mission ordeals. But anyway, trying to get back to the matter at hand. What do I think of this game? Since I've played further into it, it's okay. Um, I have recently heard that it didn't do so well in Japan since as of the next sometime later this month, I've noticed that they're shutting their servers down already. So that strikes a bit of a red flag for me. If Japan's already shut their game down and they've had theirs for 3 years, and we just got our global release, what does it say about us? So yeah, it kind of makes me think we may not have it for very long. So I guess I should say enjoy it while you can. Maybe it'll last longer. I don't really know. Now there is a couple of things from what I've noticed that they could probably work on to change. And one of the things I've noticed, especially from a another fellow player that goes by on YouTube, Bahamut418. I forget what the rest of the number is. I'm sorry, dude. It goes by Azrael on Discord. He was telling me about how the translators, the ones that were working on the story, trying to get it translated to English, there was a number of names that they kind of didn't quite spell out right. Now, normally, if they wanted to spell it a different way from how they may have said it in Japan or something, I'm willing to forgive if the fact they weren't consistent with it because, like, say the country names for a basic example, they say Somalia instead of Syria. They say Alalatos instead of Alatos or Altos. And the more I kept reading on and on about it, it did seem a bit grinding the gears a little bit, especially considering that they actually spell the names right on the world map. They screw it up in the dialogue for characters, but they get it right on the world map. That's, yeah, no. No, if you're gonna spell it right, spell it right. But that's a bit of a nitpick. But I'm willing to kind of overlook that a bit. Also, the story itself is kind of hit and miss. That's not something we haven't heard before already. You got a girl that's come from the future to try to alter events, like it has been done already. Matter of fact, I think there was a WonderSwan game where they kind of did something similar. I don't know if the character came from a different dimension or if it was a different timeline. I want to say a timeline, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, yeah, there's that. And not to mention, going back to the story real quick, and also from what I've heard, unless it gets addressed, which I have read that a creator or the author of the story that's writing this eventually will, and I hope it's a good one, but it does kind of contradict, since this is meant to take place 10 years later after the events of Arclight 2, it does seem to contradict what happens with 3, because there's no mention of Alec or any of that gang and what happened after years after the Great Disaster. It kind of rewrote itself and completely cleaned the slate. So that's another bit of a red flag. Be kind of nice if they had addressed that, but yeah. But as far as the good parts of the game, gameplay is pretty seems pretty solid. I mean, it says your basics, turn-based strategy RPG like what you're used to seeing. You're only given two moves depending on how strong your character is, depending on what star level it is. Sometimes you're stuck with one to use once you build it up. Um, so there's not much of an MP system to it. But if you got a more powerful star, there's another ability you can unlock from it. As far as equipment and abilities, that seems to be something you really have to go deeper into the story, or at least do a bunch of side quests and jobs to try to make some of the good stuff to really power up your character more. Otherwise, it seems to be mostly just grinding to level up, which is why I see why some people are thinking it's just another gotcha game. They want you to spend money they want you to pay to win. And I've never been one to pay to win. I mean, heck, look at Final Fantasy Record Keeper. I've probably played that game the most out of any mobile game I've ever played, and still playing it off and on to this day. I was thinking about making some more videos of that at some point. Um, I've probably been playing for about ever since months after it first was introduced, and I've still yet to put 1 cent to it. So, you persevere enough, you'll get by without having to spend a penny. But that's just me. So overall, if you're a hardcore fan of Arc the Lad like I've kind of been, you might enjoy it. Some of you might be turned off because it's a mobile game, which I get. I do rather would prefer if it was more of an actual console release where it didn't rely on DLC so much or gotchas and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is, I suppose. I might be willing to try playing a little bit more, but as of right now, I think the biggest complaint I have of this game, if it wasn't for this, I'd probably recommend it more. I think the biggest problem I've seen with it is there's been numerous times where the game would instantly crash upon opening the app. What do I mean by this? When it shows the Bolt Train Games logo, that's as far as it goes. There's been many times where it gets to that point and then it just freezes. I've tried reloading it a couple of times. I've tried resetting my mobile device a couple of times, and everything short of actually going back and uninstalling and reinstalling it, which I didn't. I shouldn't have to do that. And now suddenly I'm starting back at the beginning, and I got all the way up to chapter 2. That is probably my biggest problem with the game. one that might unless Bolt Trend Games fixes this issue, because it can't just be me having this problem. I'm sure a number of other players have had this issue as well at some point. I don't know if it's because it's on Android or iOS device or what the issue is, but unless they can fix this problem, I may not be playing as much of it as I was before. So, in the end, was it the game that we were kind of hoping for? Not really. Sad to say. Um, well, actually, let me take that back. Yes and no. If they can actually work with the game some more, give it more polish, keep continue to update it and get rid of whatever glitches that this game has, whatever flaws that this game might have, it could probably come out better. But as it stands now, it's just okay. It's not gonna. There's no way in hell it's gonna surpass any past titles on PlayStation. It doesn't. But that's just my opinions. I just thought I'd come on here and give that out to you. So if you like the game, cool. If you don't, I understand why. Um, Especially since the character names that were introduced to this story, Halt, really, uh, Side. Come on, guys, get a little bit creative here. Anyway, this is Arclad. I'm signing off. Take it easy.